So one thing I was saying, just YouTube channel, it's new. I put it in the chat. Subscribe. What are Google Sites used for? Everything from teacher websites. A lot of teachers start building them during the pause and using it to sort of communicate with their kids. The nice thing about it is people, if teachers create them, anyone can view them. They don't need Delta Learn's accounts. They can just visit your site. So that's the beauty of it. So really great for communicating. Super, and well, you'll see this in a few minutes. It's easy to embed videos. It's easy to embed text, graphics, all sorts of things. It's a pretty quick and easy way to build a site. Also used for students to build their own sites. So I had been mentioning that I've seen, they've been used for students to sort of demonstrate their understanding around perhaps topics instead of just a general website. So instead of doing a poster, doing a piece of writing, or including all of that stuff into a website, like something on ancient Egypt or the life cycle of a salmon, it could be used for that. All right. So the next part, and I think this is the last thing I said before I found out that you couldn't hear me, is how do you get there? So let's start that part again. So just like anything Google-ish, we start from a waffle, and in the waffle, we look for our sites icon, and we can just click on sites, and it brings us to our sites. And just like in docs or slides, we have all our previous files down here. And then across the top, we have some templates, and there's a few templates that you might find useful. You can always start blank and create your own. There's a class website. So if you were thinking of creating a class website but didn't quite know how to start and wanted something sort of constructed for you in some ways, you could pick that one. And you could always manipulate them. You could delete things or add things. It's just a basic template. There's a new one for students, which is a student portfolio, which we're going to be looking at shortly, which is relatively new. It's just come out in the last probably 3 or 4 months. And then there's some other ones. These ones, although this one says portfolio, it really doesn't work well as a student portfolio. This is the one that I would suggest. And so just like anything else, you just click on it to create. So here's one that I've just open. So I'm using that student portfolio, and it should open up. So one of the other things that I did say was before, when you couldn't hear me, is because we're a small group, if you have a question, just unmute your mic and pop in and ask your question. And then after you've asked your question, if you could just mute your mic again. So feel free to do that so that I can hear you. I don't have a moderator for this session, and this session is being recorded as well. All right. So here's a template to a site. All right. One of the things that we've changed this year is Google's allowed us to do this now, is we can allow students to visit sites created in Google Sites, but they cannot create them. And so the way they are created now is that a teacher needs to basically create them for them. So basically, if you wanted your students to have a portfolio, I would open the portfolio template, and I would just share it with them. So I would just have to share this with each student. I know it's a little bit time consuming, but what we were finding is that kids were creating websites that were at times inappropriate and sort of cluttering. And so you could just share it with that student and make sure that they have editing rights. So if I was to pick, say, Tech Help 1, okay, and I just make sure that they're an editor. And then I would send it to them. And now they have access to this. So we both have access to this. And then the next thing I would do is, once they've started, I would even go and change their access here. And it doesn't show here because I've already done this. I've changed ownership. But one of the things you can do is there'll be change owner, and you could give them ownership. That way, if you've got that student in grade 8 and they want to continue with that website into grade 9, they would have ownership rather than you have ownership. And it doesn't clutter your drive and that sort of stuff as well. But you would still remain as an editor, and then you could always remove yourself as an editor at the end of the year so that you don't have all these websites to look at. All right. So that's one change that has happened in terms of how they're managed. Okay. All right. So here's a basic site. This is a template. So basically, this is your working area. And then over here are some of your features and your tools that you can use. The first place that most people want to go and look at is themes. You have very few themes. So I could use simple, I could use diplomat. I can change the color somewhat, and I have some ability to change the font, but very little. So you're very limited in terms of your theme. All right. So you can pick whatever theme works for you, however you want, however much time you want to give students if they're working on that to make their decisions. That's up to you. I usually say you have 1 minute because you can always come back and change. It's, you know, even though you've constructed it, you can always change your theme in the middle of it at any point. All right. The next thing that you're going to want to do is look at your settings. And so what I'm trying to do here is I'm just working through my slides. So if you're following along in the slides, you can see I'm just sort of working my way through. Okay, so no. All right. Okay, go back here. Okay, so in settings, there's a few things that you can decide upon. One is navigation, and this is where your navigation bar goes. So you can see I've sort of started one, and at the very top I have my navigation bar here. Now, if I want it to go on the side, I click on that drop down, and it's going to put it down the side. Now, this isn't quite what my site will look like. If at any point I want to look at my site, there's this little option up here, which is called Preview. And when I click on that, it gives me a preview. So now you can see that there are my pages. Now, down below it shows that, well, this is what it's going to look like on a computer. This is what it's going to look like on a tablet. And this is what it's going to look like on a phone. So I can preview it in a variety of ways. So I'm just going to get out of preview here, return, go back to my settings. Okay, so I can pick on how I want it to go. I kind of prefer top, and it just depends on how many menu items you have. If you've got a lot of menu items, sometimes it's better to do one that's down the side than across the top. And then you can decide on the color. So it could be white, it could be black, or it could be transparent. All right, so however you want to do that. Now, brand images, I'll just spend a little time here, is you can upload icons. So the first one is a logo. And so if you were to upload any type of image, you can see right up here on my top left, beside where it says your name, that same image appears. So I just uploaded that. And then it also allows you to select what's called a favicon. And a favicon is that image that often appears up here, like on the tab. And so if you wanted to do that, you could do that. That's entirely up to you. Okay, those are sort of two sort of things. Those are the theme, the colors. These things are usually those design elements that you know, you can always come back and change. Okay, so those are the key setting features at this point. Viewer tools. I'll just mention that one right now is this allows you to either show contact information or when the site was last updated. I would encourage kids to use site last updated because I think that's a great opportunity to have a discussion with kids around content on sites that they view, like how recent is the content, you know, to determine the authenticity of the website, what type of information is on there. So have them turn that on so that they know when it's updated, so that when I actually look at the site, there'll be, I'll just go to this one. Down on the bottom, there's a little eye in a circle here. And when I click on that, it's going to say when it was last updated. It can also provide contact information. That's not so important. But page updated, I think, is a good place or a good thing to have. All right. Again, feel free to jump in with any questions if you have any questions as they pop up. All right. Okay, so the next place that's sort of a design element that a lot of people want to spend a bit of time on is this green banner area. So you can, by just floating your cursor over top, is you can change that image. All right, so I could actually pick an image from either my computer to upload, or I could do a Google search. I could go into my albums and go onto Drive. All right, so you know, let's say I want that one. I select it, and it changes that image. So it could be an image that I have in my Drive. It could be pretty much anything. And then there's a header type. There's 4 basic ones. Cover is your entire page. Large banner, which you currently see is a bit larger than this. This is typically what's used, or just the title. Again, that's a design element. However much you want to spend on that is entirely up to you. I don't know why it changed my image back. All right. Okay, so that's just a little bit about that piece there. And then we have various tools here, like our pages and our ability to insert data or information. But I'm actually going to skip to a slide, because I should have actually, actually, I think that might be this slide here, because I just want to spend some time making sure that people are aware of this. Okay. So the next step is probably to begin constructing your site and putting pages in it. And one of the things I would strongly encourage is, before you start, building your site, you might want to do those sort of design elements first of all on your home page. But after that, I would sit down and, just like I sort of have done here, I usually do this on paper, and I design my site on paper in terms of not what it looks like, but what the content is going to be. So I can determine how many pages there's going to be, how they're going to be organized. Are there going to be sub pages? What's the content going to sort of be on the pages? Am I going to have images? Am I going to have text? Am I going to have a calendar? Am I going to have a video? Well, what's it going to be? And then how I'm going to organize it. So you can sort of see in the image up here. Okay, so this was actually for our ADST site, and there was kits and benches. And so then we had some different pages like general textiles, loom, robotics. And then for robotics, we had all these pages. And then within this page, I had to have all this information on it. So this was a rough sort of sketch, so that when I got down to actually building my site, I wasn't trying to do it on the fly, because then it gets kind of messy. So it's always a good idea to try to conceptualize your site on paper before you actually build it digitally. Okay, sort of like your draft. It's like being an architect, I suppose. So pages are found under the tab on the right. And so here we can add pages, and we add pages by clicking on the plus sign. So here we have some classes, and if I had to add another class, I could click here and add a subpage. So we have math, we have art, we might have science. Done. And now it's added my science page. All right, so here's my art page. Here's my math page. And here's my science page. Now, one of the things that using this template does not do is, now that I've created this page, you can look at my math page. So this was a template for a student portfolio. It provides me sort of with some content areas to fill in with. When I click on science, there's nothing really there. So if I liked something I saw, rather than create subpage, what I might want to do is, click on it, I'll click on it, and then select duplicate, and duplicate the page. And then that way you would get the same sort of content and structure to it. All right. So pages are fairly easy to create. You can also actually drag and drop pages and move them around. So if you actually created a page that needed to be a sub page of something else, you could actually move that. So pages are all on the right-hand side here. So again, think about that before you do that, and then add them. All right. So I'm going to go to this science page because it's sort of a blank slate. And then you're sort of ready to begin to add content. Okay. And so we click on the insert. And so content can be added in a number of different ways. I can double click anywhere on here, and I get this circle. And so I can add images. I can upload it. Documents or images. I can gather things from my drive. I can put a text box in, and I can even embed a web page. So somebody actually today, this was kind of timely, had built a blog on another site, and they were wondering if they could put it on their their Google site. And so with the URL, you could actually embed an entire web page right within it. And so it would be an easy click and link back to whatever page that you were trying to view. All right. So again, you can see some of these are similar to the ones up here. So here's my image, text, embed, and drive. They are the same ones here. All right. So you can do it in a number of different ways. Now there's also layouts. So like I was saying before, if you're thinking about, okay, I want text and a video and an image I could just pull this one over and drop it, and it adds it for me. All right, so here it is. Now I can add whatever it is that I have to add, if it's an image. So these ones are sort of preset, which is kind of handy. You'll also notice that when I move my cursor over, I get a palette. And what the palette allows me to do is change the background. So I could sort of distinguish between one area and another. So I'm just going to go to our ADST site. So you can sort of see what we've done on our ADST site when we built it. We made sure that where we put text, we put a blue background to just help distinguish between areas. So they act as kind of dividers. So you can do that however way you want. You can duplicate them, and if you don't like it, you can just trash it, get rid of it. But I'm just going to stick with that one because it's easy. All right, so we can add text. So this is my title to, let's just call it titles. And then you could add text. And then I could go right here. Now I might want to just add an image. So again, I could upload. I could select an image. I can take it from Drive. If there was something on the salmon life cycle in YouTube, I could get it from here. So let's just see if we can select an image. Okay, so this is my Drive, Google image search. And insert. So there we go. It's pretty quick and pretty easy to do. And so one of the things you can also resize it. Now, this part sometimes gets confusing for people as I'm resizing it back and forth there. When I click on top of it and I want to move it, you can see that the picture moves, but the picture will go in the blue hued area. So even though I've moved it all the way over here, it's going to go wherever the blue is. So right now this one's kind of locked, but if I put it right underneath, it's going to link it to the text above. All right, and so it embeds it all together. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that it's the blue area where the image or the text will move to, not where you're actually carrying it. And sometimes that becomes frustrating. So that's how easy it is to quickly add a picture or an image, a video, whatever you want. Again, if I wanted to do it from here, there was something in my Drive, maybe there was a PDF or a document I wanted to add. So let's just use that just because it's there. This is a PDF, and I could just quickly insert that there. So there's a PDF there. The thing to keep in mind though is if you put something in from your Drive, you need to make sure that you change the sharing permission on whatever is in your Drive to anyone with the link. Otherwise, I'll get to it, or anyone with the Delta Learns email. Otherwise, they won't be able to view it. So you're going to have to go into, I would have to go into my Drive here and then change the share settings on that document. So I'd have to go find it and then change those share settings in my Drive. So you just have to make sure that you do that. All right, so we can put pretty much anything that we want in here. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on showing you how to do that because I think you'll all figure that out rather quickly. Okay, so again, it's from my Drive, websites, that sort of thing. Then at the bottom, there are some other sort of features that you can do. Some of these are familiar because they'll be in your Drive, like sheets and slides and docs. You can place a map, a calendar, a YouTube video. So there's a variety of things here. If you have a number of pictures and you want to create, rather than have a bunch of pictures across, you can add an image carousel. And so you could add images. So we could select images. I'm kind of afraid of what's going to come up here. What images do I have here? And it creates a carousel. So rather than creating like a bunch of images all on top of one another, so let's just pick that one. And that one, and that one. And, oh, those are great pictures. All right, and insert. And sometimes this is great, especially, you know, you've gone on a field trip or something and you have images that you're allowed to use. You could then insert them as a carousel instead of just having a bunch of thumbnails all over the place. And so you can see there's the three little, or the dots below that show how many images are there. Again, if I wanted to go preview it, so it's going to look like that. So, and then you just would move through the images, toggle right through them. So another feature that's really quick and easy. So you can see most of this is really quick and easy to get through. You add your pages, you add your content, however you want to add it. The next key piece here is publishing. All right, so we click on publish. Now, one of the things that we ask is that when it is published, that whether it be teachers or students, the initial part of it is their Delta Learns username. So for instance, mine is P. DeConti. Okay, now I can, you know, say P. DeConti Salmon afterwards if I want, that's fine. It also verifies that that's not been used by anyone else. So that's why that check mark goes there and that it works. And so just we just ask that just so that the sites can easily be identified. All right. So then once I'm ready, I can publish and it's going to publish. All right. A few other things underneath the publishing button that I just wanted to bring to your attention. You can also unpublish. You can also review changes. So if you nothing, so if I was to make some changes right now, it's not going to be reflected live on the web. So sometimes we're used to like working in a Google Doc when we're working together with someone, and if someone's typing on it, I see them typing on it. A Google site is a bit different. If I add an image or make a change to this site, someone who's viewing it currently somewhere else is not going to see that change until I click on publish again. And so what they've added was this review and change. This is new, as it indicates. And what it does is it basically puts the site that is published. Oh, that's because I don't have any changes. And it compares it to the site that with the changes that you've made. So let's say here, let's just do this just so that I can add something so that it does allow me to do this. So let's just select image. Okay, so it's going to add that image. So now when I select this, review changes, it shows me what's currently published and basically what is a draft. Okay, so I can scroll down and go, oh, there's that. So they aren't the same. And then if I'm happy with that, I can then go ahead and publish. So I'll say, yes, I want to publish, and I'm going to publish that. So we have to remember to hit publish every time we make a change. And that's one of those differences, because if we're really used to working in the Google environment, we're not used to hitting save or anything, but we do have to publish it in that way. The other important piece is how do we share this now? So we click on this link, so this link icon on the top right, and it generates a link. We copy that link, and we share that however we want to share that, and whoever has that link will have access to the site. Sort of. And this is where it's a little different. So under publish settings, oh, sorry, I didn't want to go there. I want to go, sorry, share settings here. Students can only share their site either to people with Delta Learns accounts or people who they've actually shared it with. So if a student shares it with, so if a teacher creates it, shares it with that student, doesn't change ownership, they're the only two that can see it. Students can also change it to the published draft to anyone in the school district, the Delta School District. So right now I'm on as a student. As a teacher, you will have one more option, and it shows on the slide right here. It says public. So that means a teacher can publicly post their site, which is important because if you want parents to see your site, anyone to access your site, you want to make it public. Students can only do this. They can only either have it restricted, meaning it's only the people that they share with, or someone with a Delta Learns account. So if anyone with a Delta Learns account who has the URL, who has that link, can then access it. So that's important to keep in mind. All right. And okay, I'm just going to click on done here, and just one more thing here. And you'll also see that there are two different areas here. One's here, there's another one that's restricted and says Delta Learns. So this is a draft. So the draft refers to the editable website. So that's where I'm creating it. So if I wanted to share this with other people, or wanted for some reason, which I would be unsure as to what that reason would be, and say, I want everyone on the Delta School District to have access to this with the link and be able to edit the site, okay, go for it. Probably not going to do that. It's almost always going to be restricted, but sometimes that gets confused. The bottom one is the one that you really want to focus on, to either be either Delta School District or the public as a teacher, or restricted. And so then with that link, people are able to access the site. So if I was to take this, copy it, and then let's say, now I realize I'm still signed into the same Chrome browser, but whoever typed that link in would then come to the website. And there's the website as it would appear. All right. So those are the basics of a Google site. I think it's a great tool if you're planning on creating just a website for your class or for yourself to communicate with students and parents. It's really handy and easy. And then if you're further looking for it for students to build portfolios, it's also another good tool for them to demonstrate their understanding around either a subject or a topic. It's a different way, and we're always looking for different sort of voice and choices for kids, and some kids may much prefer and demonstrate a far deeper understanding of a topic or a concept if they're able to build a website, as opposed to demonstrating it another way. So that's it. It's that's Google Sites in a nutshell. Have a great rest of the week. Be well, and I look forward to working with you throughout the year. Take care, everyone.